As we talk about the affordability issues and some of the stories that have been going on here over the last few days now, this came courtesy of the Babylon Bee satirical website. For those of you that don't know, headline here, banks now requiring your grandkids to co-sign your 50-year mortgage. I mean, that's well done. That is so well done. They write here, banks across the U.S. announced today that they would now require an applicant's grandkids to co-sign on a 50-year mortgage, quote, just in case, end quote. The banks made the announcement after President Trump earlier this week floated the idea of normalizing 50-year mortgages. With housing prices on the rise and mortgages untenable for many Americans, government officials were still searching for solutions to help more people become homeowners. A 50-year mortgage is something we thought we'd never see, says National Banking Association spokesperson Craig Jensen. So we'll need them to bring a grandkid under the age of 30 to co-sign the loan. We just don't see any other way to do this. We can't afford to have loan holders keeling over and leaving us holding the proverbial bag. At publishing time, American Grandchildren announced that they would need some type of collateral to co-sign with their grandparents, preferably in the form of candy or ice cream. There you go.
We have pizzas. We have 300 hamburgers, many French fries.
That may do it as well. That's probably going to do the trick. I mean, this is just not the answer here, but here's what else is going on. I know that the 50-year mortgage was just an idea floated out there, but on a more serious note, Fannie Mae, this did not get nearly as much attention as it should have gotten. Fannie Mae is set to drop its 620 credit score minimum. So the mortgage giant will instead use its own analysis of risk factors. Officials say they're easing barriers to borrowing, adding it's the latest in a series of policy changes aimed at creating home ownership opportunities in the United States. You know what's going to happen. It's going to cause a housing market crash again. And everyone who pushed these really dumb policies will once again claim they were not at fault. It's tiring. It's the same mistakes over and over and over again. Now, on Fox Business, they had this story yesterday, the top 3 reasons housing has become so unaffordable in the U.S. And it's not what you think. Experts say the problem is cemented into the foundation of the U.S. housing system. They point to 3 major forces doing most of the damage: restrictive zoning, land use barriers, and financial policies that have choked supply and pushed prices out of reach. So this was interesting. Jim Tobin, president of the National Association of Home Builders, said the cost of regulations alone plays a massive role in housing affordability. He said, we estimate that 24% of the cost of a single-family home is embedded in regulations at all 3 levels of local, state, and federal government. That comes out to roughly $94,000 in regulatory costs. So if there's something the feds can do, your states can do, and your local counties and municipalities can do, you could potentially get that number down tremendously. $94,000 a home when you add up the federal, state, and local regulations that these home builders deal with. Now, I know you need some regulations. It can't be a total free-for-all, but $94,000 a pop? No wonder these builders don't want to get into the game. No wonder it's like, you know what, just give me a 4-story apartment complex I can put up at 135th and Antioch. I'll be fine. He said that some local governments intentionally restrict growth, adding both time and cost to the process. So rather than hearing these Kansas gubernatorial candidates talk about things like property taxes, which really is more about, protecting the boomer policy than it is helping the young potential homeowner get into a house, why don't we hear about the regulations at the state level? Let's talk about that. I know it's maybe a little more nuanced of a conversation, but let's have it. Versus having all these guys and gals say the same thing. We're going to make sure your property taxes don't go up too much. Okay, but how do you get into a house in the first place? How do you do that? That's the question that I've got for people. E.J. Antoni, chief economist at the Heritage Foundation, told Fox Business the U.S. housing market will not recover until building gets easier and borrowing costs come down more. Let's go to you, 913-408-7957. Let's check in with Robert. He's in Pleasant Hill. Go ahead, Robert. You're on KCMO.
Yeah, I'm in the mortgage business, and I have a take on this 50-year mortgage. I actually think it's a pretty good idea. And here's the reason why, is that on average, people are in their mortgages for like 6 to 7 years. At that point, they usually either sell their house and buy another one as far as upgrade, or they actually refinance. And so I think the introduction of the 50-year mortgage is a good way for people to get in, because right now, first-time home buyers make up about 20% of the market. And for this to be a healthy market, they got to make up about 40 to 45%. And you've got a problem right now because housing costs are so high, but wages have not caught up with inflation. And until that happens, the first-home buyers are not going to jump into the market. And I think with this introduction of the 50-year mortgage, it allows them, obviously it lowers their monthly payment, and it allows them an avenue to actually get into the market right now.
But if you drive up the demand by introducing the 50-year mortgage, the prices may just go up as well, which then doesn't really save you anything and locks you in on a deal that you're going to pay an astronomical amount of interest in if you do last there for any lengthy period of time.
Well, my retort to that is that the reason why we had this biggest run-up was this COVID thing. And unless you have a national crisis, the mortgage market or the housing market will go on as normal. So I don't necessarily think that you're going to have this big, huge glut of demand. You'll have normal demand, and prices of homes will normally adjust, 3 to 5%, or increase 3 to 5% per year.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you're going to have this big, huge demand like you did with COVID or back in 2008, 2009 when, But I don't know. Right now we're not in a normal mortgage market because the gap between houses for sale and the actual buyers out on the market is bigger than it ever has been. So we're having just the reverse problem right now, and we need to get it to normalcy. And
I'm up against it. I do see what you're saying though there, Robert. I mean, I understand the potential appeal, but it still feels like a Band-Aid on a wound. It may help move things a little bit, but I'm not a fan of trying to Band-Aid this thing because the issue is so much bigger. And enslaving people to the banks for another 20 years, even if they don't stay there, I mean, they move in 6 or 7 years, they got no equity anyway. So what's the point? You're just a renter. Is that really the answer? News in a minute. More with you in the 8 o'clock hour on KCMO. We were having this conversation with you before the top of the hour on the affordability crisis on homes. There was some news that I thought got wildly overlooked this week, that Fannie Mae is set to drop its 620 credit score minimum, and now they're going to instead use their own analysis of risk factors. You've got, of course, ideas being floated out there of a 50-year mortgage, which to me is just absolutely insane. But it's stirred up a lot of conversation about what the future holds for first-time homebuyers in particular, as the age is now 40. Half a decade ago, the average first-time homebuyer, or the median first-time homebuyer, was 31. Now it's 40. Rick, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
Morning, Pete. Hey, I'm a boomer, and I remember, and it was my parents, the way they brought me up is you got to pay for your car, you pay your car off, and you could only get a 36-month loan on a car, brand new back then, and a 30-year mortgage on your home. And that kind of was impressed upon me. And we had a lot of people and you could live off your retirement because your corporation gave you a retirement and your Social Security. That was impressed upon me. Now, I don't think the kids today, because I see everybody with this new 72-month car loan stuff, trading their car in, and they're upside down in their loan to begin with, and they just keep doing that every 3, 4, 5 years. And I don't see kids today seeing themselves paying off a home. But if they could at least get in one, they could build some equity and not be upside down in it. You know what I mean? Because a home is an appreciable item in 99% of the time.
So what are you getting at exactly, Rick? You like the 50-year mortgage?
I don't think it would make a difference because I don't think kids today are interested in paying off their home. They're not interested in paying off their cars, and they're not interested in paying off. I don't think they would be interested in paying off their homes, but at least it would be like a savings account where you can't touch it without selling your home, but they would build some equity in it, and the payments on a house would probably be less than rent in most of the areas.
Well, actually, you're kind of in a world, and I appreciate it, Rick. You're in a world right now where renting, in many cases, is going to make more sense for you. I mean, that's the world we currently live in. And let me defend younger folks for a second. I say this as a millennial who has bought many a used or pre-owned car over the years, who was also in a house. So I'm not making any of this about me. I mean, we bought our home in 2019 now here in the Kansas City area. So this is not like me fighting for my own sake. I'm happy and fortunate I got in when I did. But when you look at the data, and this was brought up by Steve Moore the other day, a former economist under President Trump, he said, well, back in my day in the early 80s, we had 18% mortgage rates. I mean, my goodness. And I love Steve. But hold on, let's pump the brakes on this. In 1980, the median home price was about 3 times the median household income. Today, it's over 6 times the median household income. So the cost of the home itself is twice as expensive compared to the median household income based on where it was in 1980. So I don't care about your interest rates from 1982. I don't. It's really not the interest rate that's solely responsible for the cost today. It's just in many ways the icing on the cake on a market that has gotten unaffordable for the vast majority of Americans. And even when Trump talks about, hey, it's Jerome Powell's fault, it's really not Powell's fault. It's not the interest rate. It is the cost of the home. Now, is there something to be said for people don't want to be in 1,500 square foot starter homes anymore? Absolutely. You look at that data. The median size of a new single family home was about 1,500 square feet in 1970. Today, the new single family home build is about 2,300 square feet. That's a 55% increase. So, yes, there's something to be said for that as well. And people don't want to be in 1,500 square foot homes. So there's a little bit to what you're saying there, Rick. But I also think we got to be fair to younger folks who want to get ahead, who want to settle down, who want to have a family, who want to raise kids, and just literally can't figure out a way to do it. And if you kill and you take away the American dream, that's how you end up with guys like Mamdani in New York City being attractive to young people. The GOP had a moment last year with young people, especially young men. If they don't focus and hyper-focus on this issue at or near the top of their list, they'll lose them all in a heartbeat. I mean, these young people that moved to the GOP, they really, culturally, they were attracted to Trump. There's no doubt about it. All right, especially the males. Females, not so much, but the males in particular. But if you're not going to do the things that make their lives better and give tangible things for them to latch onto on this stuff, you're going to lose them. There's no doubt in my mind you're going to lose them. Let's go to Jeff, Shawnee. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, hey, great show. Hey, I bought my first house when I was 23 in probably 1988. My interest rate was 10.5% interest. I didn't have no car payments. Me and my wife had 2 conservative jobs, pretty small house. And then the interest rate got down to 6%, and we thought, we died and went to heaven. What I'm finding out is I buy a lot of stuff on Marketplace. These new kids out here, they got 2 brand new cars, $800 a month car payments. They might have a boat. They got a house full of junk that they bought. Stay off Amazon. I think they're just so they have no cash. They're just credit card poor, Everybody wants to buy everything. Everybody wants to go on vacation. Sometimes you got to, like Ramsey says, beans and rice, man, you got to cut back. But a lot of people I buy stuff from, they live in a beautiful house and they're selling their stuff because they can't afford it and they can't afford the house because they just buy too much stuff.
Mm-hmm. Listen, there's no doubt. I'm not saying we don't have a problem with that. I'm not saying that people are not also wasteful. and buy stupid stuff on Amazon and boxes showing up all the time and new crap that they don't need. I'm not saying that that's not part of what's going on here. It's just not the main thing. 913-408, where do you want me to go? Give me a number there, Mark. All right. Victor, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
Well, kind of a piggyback on the other guy. I mean, it's I agree with you. It is not complicated. The thing is that people are wasting their money. Part of what you're talking about as far as the interest rates go, it was the same thing with the colleges. The more you get the government involved, the more there's free money, the more the cost goes up. It was the same thing with the homes. If the interest rate goes low and money is easy to get, the cost of the house goes up.
Bingo.
If interest rates are high, then the cost of the homes go down. But the biggest problem is Americans don't save. We have a spending problem. We make bad decisions. I know in a previous life, I made some bad decisions. Luckily, through a friend of mine and through my present wife, I've made some really good decisions, and I'm in a much better place now than I was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. Instead of giving everybody a 50-year mortgage, how about we give them Dave Ramsey's book?
I love the Babylon Bee headline. Dave Ramsey in critical condition after learning about the 50-year mortgage idea. I was like, you know what? That's pretty good. Overland Park, Austin, good morning. You're on KCMO. Austin, what's up, buddy? Oh, hold on. Sorry, Austin. I hit the wrong button. My bad, man. Go ahead.
Come on, Pete. Come on, brother. Hey, no, you and I are about the same age. I agree with this housing pricing and interest rates, but I look at today's youth as the 38-year-old man, father of four that I am, and I'm like, are you guys making the decisions today that will set you up for the life you want tomorrow? And so a previous caller, we're talking about housing sizes and boats and toys and all this stuff, but how many young people are going out and looking for a good job that will grow themselves? And I'm not saying this is a bootstrap thing, but I just see a lot of chasing dreams. I see a lot of, oh, this would be nice to have versus go in and pursue a life today that will get you the life you want for tomorrow. So I'd just love to hear your thoughts on that. Thanks, Pete.
Well, you know, I agree. I agree, Austin. Many of these things can be true at the same time. We have a housing crisis. The government has not helped over the last 15 years. There are things they can do to lower regulations to encourage home builders to build more single-family homes. Home builders can go out there and build 1,500 square foot houses once again, which they're not really doing anymore. Young people can obviously, to your point, and to maybe Victor's point, and the caller before that's point, pick themselves up by their bootstraps, do a better job saving money, not waste money, not buy frivolous, stupid things. And also, yes, to your point there, Austin, figure out a way to grow their income by providing value to an employer or anywhere in the marketplace through entrepreneurial spirit, whatever it might be. All these things can be absolutely true. But from a government perspective, what you really want to see happen is some kind of an answer to all this, where it works out for the people who, first off, want to hustle, want to get ahead, to your point there, Austin, but also want to say, hey, you know what? My starter home shouldn't be $500,000 with a 7-8% interest rate. How do I get to that place as well, even if I'm a self-starter? And those two things, I think, can be and should be true at the same time. Alex and Leland, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
Hey, something else that shuns people away from buying their first house is the taxes and insurance. You got chiefs that are talking about coming over here to the Kansas side, and they don't want to own ground. Why? Because property taxes is too expensive. Out here in Leavenworth County, our school districts are insane how much they take advantage of them. And by the end of the year, you look at your mortgage bill compared to your taxes and insurance, and 50% of your payments roughly are going to just taxes and insurance that you're paying every year towards your houses.
Well, you're right about that, Alex. You're actually that is a great call, because to your point, if the Chiefs move to Kansas, as Keatsman talked about the other day, they want to basically have the state of Kansas buy the land, and then they will basically lease the land from Kansas. Well, could I do that? Could I get all the perks of home ownership and not pay the property taxes, just have the state of Kansas buy it for me? Or is that deal only available to billionaire sports owners? That's an excellent point there, Alex. You're right. And that's why all of this stuff has to be tackled. The property taxes continue to skyrocket. right? I mean, look at Overland Park. Overland Park runs around and says, hey, our mill rate is low. No one pays attention or cares about their mill rate. They care about the money coming out of their pockets to pay their property taxes. And by the way, when local governments are growing, in the case of Overland Park, what is it, like 50% over the last 7-8 years on their revenues? It's totally out of control. So that has to be handled as well. That's why it's a crisis, because there's not one simple, easy solution. There's a federal element, there's a state element, and there is obviously a local element as well that needs to be tackled. All these things are absolutely true at the same time. But he's right. I mean, you tack on higher rates with an incredible entry point on the cost of the home, with then property taxes and insurance keeping, their growth as well in this whole conversation. It's unaffordable. But yeah, get me that Clark Hunt deal if you could in KCK. Mark, can you make a couple of calls, or I'll just call my real estate guy after the show. Be like, you know what? I don't really want to go anywhere, but if you can find me a place where the state of Kansas will buy the house for me, and then I can just lease it from them, but I can also get all the benefits of being a homeowner as well and not have to pay the taxes, sign me up for that deal. Sign me up.